This is an enzo. An enzo is a Japanese word, also called a Zen circle. It's a form of expression and it's deeply rooted in Japanese Zen practice. When you paint an enzo, it's often done in one single stroke and in one single breath. And it's also kind of embodies this concept of mushin, or no mind. The mind is completely free from clutter as you paint the circle, and the circle can be closed or it can be open. I love the idea of being completely free of clutter when you're painting. As kids, we actually start our lives scribbling away, lots of little lines, don't look that great. And then very quickly, by the age of 2, we instinctively start to draw circles. We're drawing blob hands and a blob head and a blob foot and making those cute little pictures that we know. As a kid myself, I completely loved to paint and draw. I loved it so much, and my teachers throughout my entire schooling said I was actually quite gifted. My parents just thought they were being really nice. I did end up going to art school, but I was really gripped and afraid of the stereotype of being a poor artist. And so pretty quickly, I built myself a really interesting and successful career, predominantly in executive world, big portfolios. I've lived overseas, I've done lots of really interesting things and a lot of responsibility. Until last year, when I quit my very demanding executive job and took a sabbatical. And to give you some context, I had a little bit of money in the bank, a massive mortgage, and just me to rely on. So it was a supremely excellent financial decision. But I did that, and the very first thing I started to do was to paint circles. And these are my version of an enzo. Almost a year of painting circles. And I also, somewhere along the way, found the courage to exhibit them in Melbourne. One of the other things I've done is to help that process is to write a letter to my ego, a handwritten letter that told her to get out of the way for a while. And I also painted when sort of completely afraid of life. I painted in clear water, painted circles in clear water and dropped the ink into them and watched what it would do and waited for it to dry. Sort of like so very much art imitating life. And there's another Japanese word called senshoku, which is to stain. And I love this idea, to stain, to dye, because to stain something, when you think about it, it often starts wet and then it dries. But it's got a really different story from the first time until the end point. So these are the stains of my year of reflection. They have allowed me to realign a really critical part of myself, to bring it back into the true me. And I think that there's potentially an enzo in all of us. You know, this has been a year for me of enormous humility. And I think when you strip back to the thing you love the most, sometimes you find it is the thing that you are the most. Perhaps there is an enzo for you. You might just be doodling on the left-hand side of the page tomorrow and think this is helpful. Or perhaps there's a sabbatical, who knows. I did all of those things to get to this place. And I've reminded myself tonight that perhaps the most powerful thing I've done is stand up here and say, I'm Alison Wright and I'm an artist. And I've also remembered that just like the enzo, life is like a circle, but it's always full and completely empty all at the same time. Thank you.